So already we have discussed a one-dimensional array and different operations that we can perform in one-dimensional array. So here we are going to discuss multi-dimensional array. Two-dimensional we will start with, and in two-dimensional array basically, as we have already said, in one-dimensional array we have only one row and multiple columns are there. So this was considered as a one-dimensional array where only one row was there but multiple columns are there. Two-dimensional array means where number of row and number of column both are multiple. So this is a two-dimensional array where you can see we have three rows are there and multiple columns are there. So this is like a matrix basically. So this is called two-dimensional array where we have multiple row and multiple column. So now there is a difference between one-dimensional and two-dimensional. So as number of row and number of column both are variable here, both are multiple here. So in that case the representation of the element into the array will also somehow differ. Now if I consider an example like this, we have three subject, for example, subject 1, we have subject 2 and we have subject 3, right? And we have 4 students. Student 1, student 2, we have 4 students. Now if I say put some marks here, out of 20 I am scoring. So if I say what is the marks of student 1 in subject 3, what is the marks of student 1 in subject 3? So easily we can say 12. So marks of student 1 subject 3 is 12. Okay. So what basically two information we need? Information number 1, which student, and information number 2, which subject. Same way, if I say what is the marks of student 2, we cannot say what is the marks of student 2. Marks of student 2. So we cannot say marks of student 2 what is until and unless the subject is defined. So the next question will be which subject, which student, which subject. So student 2, which subject? For example, I consider subject 2. I consider subject 2. So which student and which subject? So the marks will be 12 also here also. Okay. In other words, if I say what is the marks of subject 3, what is the marks of subject 3? So only I say this. What is the marks of subject 3? So the next question will be which student? So using only subject 3, we cannot find out the marks, a particular mark. So here also we have to mention student 1. Okay. So student 1, subject 3, then we can say this 12. So in that way, to find out marks, a particular marks, then we need two information, that is which student and which subject. So same concept is applicable in the case of two-dimensional array also. So what I do in just convert into two-dimensional array. As we know, always we start the marking the position by using 0. So we consider this as row number. This is considering row and this is the column. Okay. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3. Here it is 0, 1, 2. So this is column number 0, column number 1, column number 2, row 0, row 1, row 2, row 3. Okay. So how the elements will be marked? The elements will be marked by row and column. That is student 1 marks 1, student 1 marks 2, student 1 marks 3. In that way, so row and column we have to find out them. So if I say what will be, how will you find out this element? 12. Find out this element. So for this element we will say the position of this element is row 1, column 1. So this is row 1 and column 1. So to find out a particular element, we should have to know two information. Both, that is what is the number of row and what is the number of column. And if both the information is known, easily we can find out any element into the array. Take another example. If I say what is the element row 2 and column 3. So what will you do? We will go to row 2, then we will go to column, we have 3 columns basically. Okay, so we will go to row 2 and we will go to column 2. So this is representing 70. This is representing 70. So in that way, both are known. If I say what will be the position of 15, how will you represent this? What is the position of the 15? Then the answer will be row 3 and column 1. So this will be the answer for this element. So in that way, every element into a two-dimensional array also can be represented by its position into this array. So this is the position, which row, which column, this is the position. Now, how we declare an array and how we represent this, what we have discussed now, how we represent this. So the declaration is very much similar to one-dimensional array. In one-dimensional array, first we write the data type. So here also data type is required. So it is also an array, so it will store only homogeneous type of data. There is no doubt about it. Then integer, then we provide the array name. So we can consider number as an array name. Now, in case of one-dimensional array, we have mentioned here site. That is in one-dimensional array. That we are talking about one-dimensional array. Okay. We have mentioned only site. So here only site was enough because this site is basically representing the column number. Now because number of row, okay, if I say 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the site. So this is how many columns are there? 5 columns. So site is basically representing number of column, and row which was fixed, only one row is there in one dimensional array. So row size we need not to mention. Row size is fixed one. We only mention the column size, that is variable. Column size is variable. So through this size we are basically representing number of column present into one dimensional array. Now when we are in two dimensional array, there number of row and number of column both are multiple. So using only column number, using only column size, we cannot represent two dimensional array, where row size also we have to mention. So in case of two dimensional array, everything will be same. But when it comes to size, here we mention two size. First is row size, then we write the column size. So here we have to mention two size in case of two dimensional array. So if I give an example of declaration, it is integer number 3, 4. So that means we are creating an array, of number which can store only integer type data, and this array has 3 row and 4 column. This array has 3 row and 4 column. So total how many elements we can store? In this array we can store total 12 number of elements. Okay, and the array will be like this. The array will look like this. That you can see. There are 3 rows and 4 columns. So this array we can create by this statement integer number 3, 4. The next is now how the memory will be allocated for this array. If I declare this, obviously the memory allocation will be continuous because it is an array. Now how the memory will be allocated? Total memory, what will be the total memory size? That is also similar how we have calculated in case of one dimensional array. So here we can store maximum 12 elements we can store. Okay, because 3 row and 4 elements are there, so we can store total 12 elements. Now it is integer, so if I considered 32 32-bit computer, then the size of the integer will be 2. Okay, so it will be 24 byte, right? Because total maximum 12 element we can store, and each element size is 2 byte, so maximum it will be 24 byte. That's very simple to calculate. So in that way we can find out. Now this 24 byte will be continuous. 24 byte memory will be continuous. But which element will get stored after which element? That is the question. That is about the memory allocation. So let us consider this similar array where 3 row and 4 column is there. So 3 row and 4 column is there. This is row 0, row 1, row 2. This is column 0, column 1, column 2 and column 3. Now it will be like this. The memory allocation will be row wise. First we will start with row 0. We will start with row 0. So if I consider this is my main memory, if I consider this is the main memory, and total 12 byte we will allocate, total 12 memory allocation will be, total 24 will be allocated. So if I say this is the location, in that way total these are the 24 byte. This 24 byte, continuous 24 byte has allocated for this particular array. Now this is the first location, this is the first location, and this is the last location, 24 byte. So now I will show which element will get stored into the first position, which element will go to the second, which element will go to the third position. So it will always store the data row wise. So in the first position, it will go row 0 and column 0 element. Row 0, column 0 element. In the second position, it will go row 0 and column 1 element. Row 0, column 1. That means we are covering row wise. First we have to complete row 0, then we come to row 1. After completion of row 1, we will go to row 2. So second will be row 0, column 2. Then row 0, column 3. Next row 0 completed, four elements are there. So we have covered row 0, column 1, column 2, column 3. So when row 0 is completed, then we come to row 1. Okay, then we complete row 1 first. So the first element we will store is row 1, C0, then row 1, column 1, and so on. In that way it will continue. And after completion of that, we will come to row 3. So 9, 10, 11, 12. So the last element we will store here. So this is the first element and this is the last element of the array. So that will be, last element will be row 2, column 3. So in that way the 24 byte memory will be allocated. It will start from row 0, column 0 element and first complete row 0, then complete row 1, then complete row 2. In that way we will assign the memory. Now how we can insert data into this two-dimensional array, or how we can access the elements. So already we have said that element into the array we can access by its position, and that also we have right now also we have discussed with the example of student and subject, how we are getting the marks by using the position, row and column, student 1, subject 1, student 1, subject 2. Here also I have shown you that row 0, column 0, this position, row 0, column 1 is basically representing this position in that way. Now, as we are performing all the operation row wise, that means we are fixing the row. We are fixing the row. As you see here, the row is fixed. For this 4, row is 0. Okay, and the column is variable. Column 0, column 1, column 2, column 3. When the columns are complete, again we take row as 1. Then we come to row as 2. So that means always we are fixing the row, fixing the number of row, and column is variable. And when we cover all the column, then we change the row. So basically this is the concept of nesting for loop that already we have discussed. In nesting for loop, by fixing one thing, by fixing one variable, we can change the variables which is inside of the loop or the inner loops, and then again after completion of the inner loop, we get back to the outer loop, change the variable, again we complete it. Okay, so here is the concept of nested for loop. row is fixed to 0, column is changing. Then row increasing, again same thing happens with the column value. So what we do, we have taken two variables, one for the row, another for the column, and obviously row will be the outer for loop, as you can see as per the concept. Row will fixed and column is changing, so row will be the outer for loop. So what I do here, I have take a for loop where this R variable I have taken for row 0, and we have basically 3 row, so R should be less than 3, R plus plus. Again inside we use another for loop which is representing the column. So here we take C variable that is representing the column. So how many columns we have? We have 4 columns, so it should be C less than 4, C plus plus. Okay. Now here we can write scanf if we want to take input of this. So it will be %d, comma, the array name was name. Okay. Then we write row. Let me make it clear. This is no more required. Let me erase it. Okay. So here it is. The array name, for example, I have considered as A, name of the array, and this is R variable that is representing the row, and C is representing the column. Okay. So this is what we are doing. First we represent the row, then we represent the column. So if I execute it, let us see what we have just discussed. It is following that or not. So first time the value of R will be 0. Okay, that is the outer for loop. So for this value it will come to the inner for loop, and when it will insert into the inner for loop, first it will complete the inner for loop, then again it will get back to the outer for loop. So the value of C will be 0, C will be 1, C will be 2, C will be 3. Okay, so when the value of C will become 3, up to this the condition is 2, and when the value of C will become 4, the condition will be false. That's why the row is fixed and the value of column is changing, as you can see. C is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3. After that, when C becomes 4, the condition get false, again it will get back to the outer loop. And after coming to the outer loop, it will increase the value of R, that will become 1 now. So for the value of R equal to 1, again the inner for loop will execute and the value of C will be 0, then 1, then 2, then 3. Next time the value of R will again get changed to 2, and for that again the inner for loop will execute, so value of C will be 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and the value of R becomes 3, so the condition will be false, and when the outer for loop condition becomes false, it will stop the iteration. So here you can see what we are doing. We are basically executing the program or inserting the value row wise. First we fix the row and inserting the value to the column. So this is A, R, C. So when for this condition, A, R, C means A 0, 0. Okay, R is 0, C is also 0. For this it will become A, R is fixed as 0 and the value of C is 1. So it is A0, 1. For this it will be A, R is fixed to 0 and value of C is changing, that is 2. 3 it is A 0, 3. So in that way it will cover. So that is the way how we can insert value into this two-dimensional array, or how we can represent the elements. So that is the format how we can. Now if I change it to printf, if I just change it to printf, so in that way we can print the value. In that way we can find out, if you want to find out the sum of the elements, of a two-dimensional array that we have shown in one-dimensional array. Just we have to take a variable s similarly, and we can write here s equal to s plus s. Initially we have to consider integer s equal to 0, then we can print. So here also we are same thing to what we have done in case of one dimensional array. Same, just the representation of the element in one dimensional array, the element can be represented by only the column number, because row number is not required, only one row is there. But here we have to mention the row as well as we have to mention the column to represent the element. And when we are performing the operation, a nested for loop is required, because here row and column both are changing. First row fixed, column changing, then row changing, again column changing, in that way. But in case of one dimensional array, it was not required, as row was fixed 1. From row 1 we need not to move to row 2. But here it is required. That's why 2 for loop is required, and which is nested. So that is all about two-dimensional array we are using in C programming.
So in this program we are going to see functionality of two-dimensional array. Already we have discussed one-dimensional array where only one row is there but multiple columns are there. But in two-dimensional array where number of row and number of column both are variable, that you can see here in the array declaration. Integer, that is basically keyword int we are using here, that is defining the data type of the array that we can store into the array. A is representing the name of the array, and after that here you can see this within the parentheses we have defined two values, 10 and 10. So if I consider, let me make it 20 different. So the first 10, then 20. So 10 is basically representing the maximum number of rows, that is row size, and 20 is representing the maximum number of column that we can accommodate in this array. So A is an array that can store only integer type data, where in this array we have maximum 10 number of rows and 20 number of columns. That means 10 into 20, total 200 number of elements we can store into this array. So the size of the array, according to me, the number of elements in this array is 200, as we know, 10 row and 20 column. So if I multiply, the result will be 200. And if the size of each integer is 4 byte in 64-bit compiler, that size of each integer is 4 byte. So that means the total size of the array should be 200 into 4, that is 800 byte. So as you can see here, output we are getting the total size of array is 800 byte. Now come to the input part, how we are taking input in a two-dimensional array. So it is very much similar to the one-dimensional array, where we have considered only number of element, that means number of column or number of elements same. But here we have to consider number of row as well as number of column. So that's why we are asking for the number of row and we are asking for the number of column both. Now if you come to this for loop where we are taking the input. So here we have considered two for loop basically. So as you can see, the outer for loop is controlled by the I variable and the inner for loop is controlled by the j variable. Similarly here the value of I and j both we have started from 0, because in an array the base element is represented, the position of the base element is represented by 0. So the outer for loop we have considered for row. As you can see, r is the variable that we have, in r variable we have the number of row, and in c variable we have the number of column. So basically in the outer for loop we are considering row, and the inner for loop we are considering the column. Then using the scanf statement we enter the value, and here we are writing a, I and j. So I and j, as you can see, using I, j we are basically representing the position. When the value of I is 0, j is also 0, so it is representing the 0 element of the array. When the value of I is 0, j is 1, it is representing the 1 element. So in that way, by changing the value of I and j, we can represent different elements into the two-dimensional array. Now here we are using this logic for printing the two-dimensional array. So here also the for loop remains same, because we have to consider row as the outer for loop and column as the inner for loop, because we have already discussed in case of two-dimensional array we perform the operation row wise. First we insert the array, insert the elements, or perform the operation on the elements of the first row. After completion of the first row, we perform the operation on the second row. After completion of second row, we move to the third row. In that way, after completing a particular row, we can move to the second row. Due to this reason, we have considered row in the outer for loop and column in the inner for loop. So then using the printer, basically we are printing the right. Now if I run it, so let us consider number of row is 3 and number of column we have considered 2. That means we have 6 elements here, 3 row 2 column, 6 elements here. So as you can see, it is first asking for the 0 0 element. Okay, so I entered 2. Then it is asking for 0 1 element. So enter 3. Now it is asking for 1 0 element. So the first is representing row, second one is representing column. So 0 0 means row 0 column 0. 0 1 means row 0 column 1. So 2 column we have. How many columns we have? 2 columns. So in row 0, first we insert 2 columns. After completion, then we are moving to row 1. As you can see here, the value of 0 has moved to 1. So that means now we are in row 1. So the element is 4, 5. Again we have completed inserting 2 elements in row 1. Let's see, now we are going to row 2. Okay. Now we come to row 2. So here we are. So as you can see, this is my array that we have entered. 2 and 3 is in first row, 4 and 5 in the second row, 6 and 8 is in the third row. So how many rows are there? 3 rows are there, 2 columns are there. So that is the way how we can insert element into a 2-dimensional array and how we can print the elements of a 2-dimensional array. In the same program, I will also show a simple operation on 2-dimensional array, that is performing sum of the elements, the array that just we have entered, how to find out the sum. So it is all the logic of performing sum of the array, 2-dimensional array is very much similar to the 1-dimensional array. The same logic we are using here. We have taken a variable s as 0 and here we are performing the sum operation. We are considering the loop similarly. Outermost loop is the row and the innermost loop is representing the column, and in that way we are performing the sum. And I have also just shown that how we are changing, shifting from one row to another row. After completing row 1, then we are shifting to row 2. So here also, when the value of I is 0, the value of j will move. By fixing I 0, the value of j will move. Then fixing I 1, value of j will move. In that way it will represent all the elements. So let us run the program. So I am taking very small inputs here, very small 2-dimensional array, but only 4 elements. Okay, so let us consider all elements are 1 for verification. Okay. So what the sum we are getting is 4. Yes, if I perform sum operation of all the elements of the array, I will get 4. So in that way, we can perform any operation on 2-dimensional array. Just the difference of 1-dimensional and 2-dimensional array is that in case of 1-dimensional array, we have fixed number of row and variable number of column. But here in 1-dimensional array, in 2-dimensional array, basically, where number of row and number of column both are very variable. That's why to perform operation on 2-dimensional array, we need the concept of nested for loop, where the outer for loop will represent the number of row and the inner for loop will represent the number of column, which was not required in case of 1-dimensional array because their number of row was fixed, was not variable. So using only one for loop, that is the for loop for the elements or for the column, we can control or we can perform operation on 1-dimensional array.